Man, I'm so happy I made it back in time. I'm still timing out when you got to like cut, paste, find your old post, dump it. You know, it just seems like a lot for such a short video. But shouts out John Nast. Love that video. Love the other one as well. It's the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my guy, Mr. Ryan Shedd, out in upstate New York. How you doing, buddy?
I've been better. Within reason, it has not stopped snowing in upstate New York since last Thursday. Um, Shout out to all the snow fighters out there keeping our roads clear. It's just been an absolute train wreck up here.
Yeah, dude. It seems like it's one metric of chaos or another. Our thoughts and prayers with everybody out in California. You know, it's insane with the wildfires.
Yeah.
Up north, you get like this insane snow that really just puts everything on its rear, you know. But weather, bro, weather is just truly crazy right now.
It's
All over the country.
unpredictable and unfun. How's that?
Well said, buddy. Well said indeed. On tonight's show, it is Super Wildcard Weekend's preview. But before we get there, we are going to start it up with the big game in college football, talking about my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I'm pumped, Shedd. I'm pumped. This is the first time that I actually think they could do it since the last time they won it, which is 1987. I don't remember that season. I don't remember that game. You know, of course, you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Netflix. But this is a different kind of vibe. Not the same vibe I got when Manti Te'o was killing off fake girlfriends.
Your boy
Yes, indeed.
is your boy.
Oh man, yeah. When that hit the air, I was like, Alabama is going to stomp a mud hole in them now, if there was any doubt. But you know,
Mm-hmm.
superior team that year. 93 still stings a little. Definitely remember that. You know, the late great Bobby Bowden, he got his. I'm okay with it. I have a high reverence for him. But I personally thought that it could have been an equal share of the title. But back then in that era of college football, I feel that it's not how many you lost, it's when you lost. And with the Irish losing to Boston College, led by Tom Coughlin, a week after defeating the Seminoles in South Bend, losing in South Bend to Boston College, no BCS, kind of set the table for things to not go right. And your guy, William Barnum Floyd, was here. You know, I gave him my perspective on it. However, I did admit that I do think they got it right because in that era of football, it was a recency thing with how did you look most recent, and the Irish had that working against them.
Yeah. Different game, man. I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's a different landscape. This the college playoff now too. It's a little bit more exciting than it has been in previous years. Last year Florida State got really screwed out of the playoff, undefeated.
Yes,
And I don't know how you keep them out. I know they lost their starting quarterback and their backup quarterback, but that shouldn't matter. It's what you've done the entire year. They totally got snubbed out of that. I'm glad they expanded it, and it definitely makes for a way more exciting college football landscape, moving forward. And now we're down to the Final Four, and unfortunately, it looks like the Irish caught the flu bug a little bit.
Yeah, saw that. Definitely something going on in the team, and it's like anything else. You know, when one person gets sick, it happens in firehouses, it happens in precincts.
Does. And my house, my kids get it, then my wife gets it, and I get it, man. It's
absolutely. Yeah, definitely something to overcome. So, you know, mass hydration, definitely a thing. I see you're hydrating over there.
Got to.
And I still got the kid cups from Noah's birthday party mid-December. And I didn't think that I would look at these cups that were remaining and say, you know what? This is the look tonight for the Irish.
Irish green.
Got my roadie jersey here.
I see that. Style and profile, man. My guy.
I'm pumped, dude. I'm pumped. As the game goes, Notre Dame, Penn State, it goes without saying that these two young men at the quarterback position, two of the best rushing quarterbacks in college football this year, And Riley Leonard only needs 14 yards to become the all-time leading rushing quarterback in Notre Dame history. That will more than likely happen tonight.
Yeah, and the running back Love is just an absolute stud. I expect him to run early and often. Penn State's defense is still legit, though. I don't know how much of a factor this flu is going to be on the Irish. I still like them to win the game, though. There's a lot of teams that can either fire them up and prove all the doubters wrong. Because I bet you a lot of money went on Penn State as soon as that came out. And yes. I bet you those boys in South Bend are going to be like, no way, we're still going to win this game, and we're gonna pound them. So I still like Notre Dame to win the game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Shed. I do think the Irish are going to win, and not because they're my team. It's just legitimately my opinion. One of the big key factors on the other side, possible top 5 pick in this coming draft, Abdul Carter, might not even play. Game time decision. And, I hope he plays because I want all these kids to be able to play, regardless of team affiliation, because it's the biggest game up to this point in their lives. Absolutely. The winner of this game faces the winner of Ohio State and Texas for the national title. But my prediction, 22-17 in favor of Notre Dame for a couple of reasons. I think they have superior special teams. And I think Riley Leonard is going to have
Big Rile.
Not a blow-up game, because I think both these defenses are going to really bring it to one another. And I also think that the running games are going to be big in this. It's going to be field position, things of that nature. But I think that Notre Dame is built to win a game like this, a grind-out kind of game that I am predicting. I'm taking the Irish by 5, and I'm predicting a safety in this game. A block punt into the end zone. I'm calling it now. That's why they got that funky number 22. Yes, sir. 5-point victory for the Irish.
I do like the low-scoring prediction because I'm very similar to you. I had 21-18 on Notre Dame. Low scoring. Yeah. I really think the defenses are going to be playing stout. And to your point, I like Notre Dame special teams. I think that the field position game is going to be the difference in this game right here.
And I'll be honest, I like Notre Dame's kicker better. I like Jeter. I really do. I like our kicker better.
You just like his last name.
Well, that helps. It helps. And I do want to add that the Irish did get a W in Yankee Stadium this year.
Just goes to show you.
But you know something? Sometimes getting punched in the mouth and getting a bad loss could really waken up a team. And I do believe that in Notre Dame's case, the horrible, horrible loss, Week 3, Northern Illinois, I think Marcus Freeman just really rallied the troops, let them know how special this team could be if they all bought in. And they're here, bro. They are here. It's a wacky season in the sense that, your top seeds have died early. I do want to say that I was actually very, very happy that Nick Saban's mic didn't work. I have a shit ton of respect for the man as a coach, but you said it at the top of the show, dude, how Nick Saban, you didn't say Nick Saban, I'm saying Nick Saban, how politics have played a role. And, last year they're like, well, FSU's missing Jordan Travis, and there's too much going on. No, we can't invite them to this dance. If anybody thinks that Nick Saban didn't have something to do with that, certain coaches hold a lot of power.
Yes, they do.
So when I saw...
Draws a crowd, brings in more money, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. I'm happy that these kids are not only making money, I'm happy that more of these kids have the opportunity to achieve long shots in these kind of games. We all know that the SEC has been a football factory and a powerhouse conference forever. And, I expect some of the teams that didn't make it to be back right away. But I am happy that it's still not perfect, but it is much improved and much needed to be improved after some of the stuff that you and I both brought up.
Mm-hmm. All good things.
Man. Fired up, bro. Let's go Irish. No private message. We're going to turn the cameras off for a little while. I was kind of looking to scoop up some cool photos that tell the stories of Wild Card Weekend. We have the 5th seeded Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Houston to take on the 10-7 Texans. The Chargers, although not a division winner, do have the better record of these two teams. I will say this, Shed, off the jump. I am not overly enthused with the way that CJ Stroud has looked lately, and I am slightly concerned if I am a Texans fan.
I would be as well.
The Chargers go they take on the personality of their head coach. I've said it many, many times. I enjoy what the Chargers are doing in terms of the running metric of their offense. This is a team that, coming into this year, not a lot of people put a lot of stock in their receiving room. Ladd McConkey, awesome rookie year. They've had contributions from Quentin Johnson at times, others. But now, coming into some serious cap space, they're going to be able to be big players in free agency to really hook up Justin Herbert with some nice weapons. But I think this is the kind of game that, not going to be a ton of touchdowns, but I think the team that scores 2 touchdowns will win this game based on what I've been seeing from each of these teams the last few weeks.
Well, I'll tell you this. Right off the jump, I like the Chargers to win the game. Not only do they have a superior defense, but you touched on Ladd McConkey and Justin Herbert, and I like a lot of J.K. Dobbins running the ball here. And C.J. Stroud has not been playing well, and he doesn't have Tank Dell or Stephon Diggs anymore. I mean, he's got Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, and everybody else, right?
Good shout.
Joe Mixon is still a phenomenal running back, but they're going to end up being one-dimensional. I mean, I think San Diego is just going to – sorry.
It's okay, dude. They were there forever. You can still call them that.
Los Angeles is just going to take control of this game and never look back. I just like them to win, and I'll take them to win 24-10.
Like-minded to the way that I'm seeing this going, J.K. Dobbins is just a phenomenal story when you consider that it appeared that his career was over after having the same injury 2 years in a row in Baltimore with the other Harbaugh brother. I think it's really cool that he gets picked up by the Chargers. Gus Edwards, a former Raven, has been a solid backup. He's not the kind of backup or second running back that's going to get the praise of like a David Montgomery, because it's a completely different situation. But Gus Edwards has expanded his role when he's been asked to do so. This is a team that looks confident. And I'll be honest with you. Do you ever in your lifetime recall a Chargers team, maybe with the exception of the season with Natron Means, on offense being this physical?
Oh, man. Give me some Junior Seau in there somewhere, but I don't know.
No, on defense, it goes without saying. I mean, they've had some phenomenal defensive teams. But from a physicality standpoint, I don't ever remember the Chargers being this physical. Maybe with the exception of 94 when they were runner-ups to your 49ers.
Yeah, the Niners ran them right out of the field that day, too.
Dude.
It wasn't even close.
Shouts out Hector Tello, one of my dad's best friends in the NYPD. He's coming up the stairs for my dad's Super Bowl party. He's got the powder blue, old-school AFL jacket. The poor guy isn't even on step 4, and Jerry Rice is already in the end zone.
Yeah, dude, they went off, man.
Yeah, let's just say, Hector took it on the chin that day, but true Charger fan. And my only Charger highlight that I actually remember was Alfred Papuno with the little, like the coconut drink thing when he scored. That was a kind of a cool celebration.
Oh man, I mean, the last Chargers team, I mean, Philip Rivers and the LaDainian Tomlinson early on was a really good team. They could just never put it together. Their defense never showed up for
They
them.
were so close so many times.
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head who picked off Tom Brady in '06, and all he had to do was take a knee or go out of bounds, but he decided to be a hero, fumbles the ball. Ultimately, the Patriots pull it off. That
Right.
was the Charger team that was supposed to win the Super Bowl because they were better than Indy, they were better than Chicago, and they were better than the Patriots that year.
Yeah. Just one
Yeah,
of
dude.
those, another one of Tom Brady's lucky wins. Yeah.
And shouts out to the late Shane Olivier, won a national title at Ohio State University, alum of my high school, Lawrence High School in Cedarhurst, Long Island. He was on that particular team.
Oh, no kidding. Awesome.
Yes, sir. And in the record-breaking season for LaDainian, Shane just had a phenomenal season. Gone too soon, but truly a great person in addition to being a heck of a football player. So, can't mention that team without thinking about Shane and his legacy and what he did. But, yeah, this Charger team has that rough, not going to take anything off of anybody kind of mentality. I like it. Give me the Chargers 27. Give me the Texans 13. 2-touchdown victory. And I think Gus Edwards is going to vulture at least one of those touchdowns. And I expect a high passer rating from Justin Herbert. I think it's going to be rather surgical.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's going to have to blitz Herbert early and often to keep him on his back. Danielle Hunter is a phenomenal pass rusher that they picked up from Minnesota. And if they don't pick up that blitz, it'll be a long day. But I think that they're going to plan for that because I think Houston knows like they're the inferior team and they have to do something to rattle the cage of the Chargers offense. So I do expect them to do that.
And I'll be honest, last thought on this, unless if you want to say anything else beyond what I'm going to say, I really think that CJ Stroud has regressed in a big way this particular season. I do think that, the big addition was Stephon Diggs. Unfortunately, he got hurt early. Then you see the horrific injury to Tank Dell. But it's not just weapons that he's missing. CJ doesn't have that same look that he did this time last year.
Touche. I mean, it almost looks like a deer in headlights at times, and I'm wondering if part of it is they're a little bit more concentrating on the run this year,
Yes.
and he doesn't have so much pressure on him, but their offensive line has not played nearly as well as they had the previous year, and teams
Not
know
by
that.
any means.
So I think that's what's going on is they just can't like keep him upright, and he's scrambling all the time and making some bad decisions and some bad throws on the run. He'll be okay. It's only a sophomore season. I expect him to adjust next year for his junior season, and he'll be fine.
Yeah. CJ has a world of talent. I think similarly to Jordan Love of Green Bay, who we're going to speak on in a little bit. Second years as starters. Of course, Love is not a second-year player. He was sitting behind Rodgers for a decent amount of years. But the point is, both of them, in my eyes, have regressed, whether it be a litany of reasons. In Love's case, I think some of it's just flat-out health. And we're going to hit on that in a bit. But we are both on the Chargers. And I don't care if they play in Los Angeles. It still sounds better to call them San Diego.
Yeah. One of these days I'll stop saying it, but it won't be this day.
Oh, don't worry. Bretsky does it. I from time to time slip. And for a minute, when the Raiders first went to Vegas, I was always calling them Oakland. It was just, for so many years, But the Raiders,
Absolutely.
They're everybody's guest. They were Los Angeles. Everybody's guest. We've got the 6th seed, Pittsburgh Steelers at 10-7, traveling to their most hated rivals, the Baltimore Ravens at 12-5. Shed, this is the rubber match. Two teams, in my genuine opinion, that are going in two different directions. If this game was promoted 6 weeks ago, and somebody said who's going to win, I would say the Steelers. But a lot has changed since the first time these two teams have played each other. And one of the biggest things is the Steelers just are hurting, man. Even guys that are gearing up and getting ready to go to battle this weekend, they are dinged up. TJ Watt, one of the most exceptional defensive players in all of football, he's going to play. But I'm not convinced that that kid is better than 80%. Najee Harris, to me, even though he has played better than the previous year, still a little tricky with the last year's injury with the Liz Frank thing. And, they got this guy on the other team that potentially could be a 3-time league MVP when this is all said and done in Lamar Jackson. You got 2 quality tight ends in Andrews and in Likely. Andrews seems to be doing just enough to hold off Likely a little bit longer. They have this other guy named Derrick Henry who's pretty good at football. Very scary individual. I would not want to tackle that man ever. And, Lamar breaking the Michael Vick rushing record for quarterbacks. And people can't just say he's just a running back that throws footballs because, throwing for over 4K. And, he's going to be without Zay Flowers. It's not going to be easy. And it's never predictable when these two lock horns. But as far as I'm concerned, the Baltimore Ravens are a healthier team and they are a better team, even without Zay Flowers.
Totally agree. Yeah, I mean, no Flowers, no problem, man. I expect Bateman to step up. You might see a lot more Likely in this game than we've seen recently. They'll just line him up.
Good shout.
With Andrews. So he'll end up being just a second tight end, but actually like a third wide receiver. And Derrick Henry running the ball. Yeah, I know, dude, Pittsburgh's still legit on defense, but to your point, they're banged up. Cameron Hayward went down a couple of times last week. Obviously, he's going to play. He's a gamer. TJ Watt still has that ankle sprain, man. He's still not 100%. Their back end, Joey Porter, God, pick a game. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. Patrick Queen isn't playing like he did last year, but he's still playing decent. But I mean, Lamar, to your point, you brought up that he could be the 1/3 MVP. I still think Josh Allen's going to take that crown. Yeah, I like Baltimore to win this. I mean, Pittsburgh on offense, I don't know. Russell Wilson looks lost at times, and
Yes.
and in last game, a lot of it wasn't his fault. I mean, you had Freiermuth drop a couple of passes. I mean, Pickens had 4 drops. Good Lord, help the guy out. And Mike Williams still doesn't seem like he's adapted to that offense yet.
I think Mike Williams needs to adapt to retirement because, the poor guy got injured a lot in the Chargers organization. The Jets brought him in. That did not work out, and he became expendable when they bring in Devontae. Now he's over here. And, Coach Tomlin is phenomenal because no matter what the hell's going on, he always finds a way to field a winning team. But I'm going to make a shout for one player on Pittsburgh that's going to have a bigger game than usual. Freiermuth. I do believe that the Ravens are susceptible in the middle. And part of the reason is because of the fact that Patrick Queen is playing for their opponents.
Yeah.
A guy that I think needs to turn back the clock a couple of years and have one of these kind of blow-up games, similar to like what Zach Ertz did when he heroically won me my fantasy league. That kind of stuff.
That stuff has how legends are made, my friend.
Yes, indeed. Give me the Baltimore Ravens 30. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, man. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers 13. I kept saying 10. Nah, it's going to be worse.
Blowout.
I got a blowout, bro. I want to be wrong because it's not that I'm totally endeared with either team because I think it's safe to say that the Steelers have done their fair share of winning.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ravens are the only organization that gave my team a Super Bowl loss. And it wasn't just a loss. It was like a pure ass kicking. Were it not for a Ron Dixon kickoff return, we would have been the only team in Super Bowl history to be shut out. Kerry Collins just
that Baltimore defense then was it's got to be top 5, top 3 all time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I would put them in the same breath as pick a year in the 70s for the Steelers, the 84 49ers, the 85 Bears, 86 Giants. That kind of class of a defense.
They were disgusting. Like, oh.
Yeah, they really were.
I think Trent Dilfer got a ring. It wasn't because he's a, all-pro quarterback. That's for sure.
No, not by any means. But, Dilfer, to his credit, did make enough plays in that game, getting behind, Brandon Stokely, getting behind Jason Sehorn. That was a momentum swing as well. So, got to give it to them, man. They just really whipped that ass, and they would have whipped whoever won the NFC that year. Yeah, they would have beat Minnesota.
I don't think Minnesota. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, that 2000 Minnesota team wasn't as good as that 98 Minnesota team.
Yep.
Yeah. I think Minnesota would have made it more respectable because you have Carter and Moss, and Culpepper was playing his best football still.
Yeah, he was slinging it then, yeah.
Yeah, the injuries got to Culpepper, the UCF product who, it's unfortunate. His beginning suggested a Hall of Fame career, and then it just broke down rather quickly. But we are both on the Ravens, waiting to see when me and Shed actually disagree. Perhaps.
Yeah, I'll give you my final score real fast. I actually like a lower scoring game. AFC North games, I mean, I said it last show too, like they're very hard fought. I know that Baltimore's a superior team. I get it. But I think it's going to be, I like Baltimore to win 27-20.
So you got the Steelers finding a way to keep it close enough.
Close enough. I mean, the back end of Baltimore, the defense has been playing a lot better lately, but Pittsburgh's they're going to show up. They just don't have enough talent to beat them, in my opinion.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, if Mike Tomlin's not your coach and you have like Adam Gase, you could forget that record they got.
Yeah. Reverse the 7 and the 10.
Yeah, how's that for honesty? Adam Gase, you suck wherever you are. All right. Keeping it moving. And in the AFC, it's interesting how we're doing these in time order, and the AFC all plays before the NFC. Very rarely do you ever see that during this weekend.
Usually they alternate. Yeah, they'll have like the AFC, AFC, NFC type of thing.
Very interesting how that played out. We got the 7th seed Denver Broncos, 10-7, traveling to the 2nd seeded Buffalo Bills, 13-4, coming off a loss to Joe Milton and the New England Patriots. Joe Milton had some game. And then they go fire their coach. But we're not talking about the Patriots. Just want to get that off my chest. I think I did a little bit of that in my last video. But this Denver defense is good, Shed. And I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for the boys from Western New York. This is going to be a fight.
Yeah, so this was going to be my upset of the week.
Oh, boy.
Buffalo Bill. So Buffalo loves the fact, and they're building a new stadium, as we all know, and they want it to be outdoors. And everybody's like, why? Buffalo's crazy. You want a dome. It's crazy. But they love the advantage. They love to play outdoors. They love the home crowd to go in there and shovel snow. They love that reputation. But Denver plays in arguably similar weather.
Absolutely.
So they're not going to be in any kind of different environment other than the fans in Buffalo. That defense is ferocious, and they have the most sacks in the league, and they're top 3 against the run. They haven't played a quarterback like Josh Allen yet, or Lamar for that matter. But I mean, Buffalo's favored by 8.5. I mean, if I'm a betting man, I take Denver here.
I think it's a little outrageous.
Denver
that the Bills are
favored
by 8, and I'm not saying that the Bills can't win this game and make the Super Bowl, because when I look at the way things could break, there is a potential that this could be the hardest game the Bills play in the AFC, assuming that they find a way to win. That's
Correct.
how highly I think of Denver.
Me as well. Yeah, that's why I this could be my upset pick of the week right here. I know Bo Nix is a rookie, so that definitely plays in Buffalo's favor. They could get rattled a little bit, especially with it being a playoff game and all of the world is watching, and could get to him, the butterflies. But he's got some veterans on that team. I like Sean. I know you don't like Sean Payton the person, but as a coach, I like him a lot. I think he's going to prepare these guys, and that defense is going to keep Josh Allen in check. I know there's going to be a spy on him. And I don't know. I mean, dude, Mims has been tearing it up on Denver's offense, and they still have Cortland Sutton.
They got rid of guys that didn't want to be there. They got rid of weak-minded players, or at least weak-minded players, according to the coach.
Yeah,
and they stuck with guys that bought in during the crappy years, because it took patience, because they gave a lot up to get Sean Payton. They gave a lot of money to be wrong about Russell Wilson, and they weren't completely wrong. It was a mixed bag.
Yeah, and they run by committee as well, which I like. That will keep Buffalo on their toes a little bit. Sean Payton likes to mix it up and give different looks to the defense. So, especially at halftime, I don't care what the score is, but Denver will make more adjustments and put up a better showing in the second half, even if they're winning. I'll take Denver to win this one. 24-22.
Oh, wow. So you got another heartbreaker in front of the Buffalo faithful.
I just think that, so last year we had a 7-2 upset with Green Bay going into Dallas, and Dallas doesn't lose at home. Well, they did this year, but last year?
Yeah, last year they were damn good.
Yeah, so, this could be another thing. People might want to try to overlook Denver, but I'm telling you, they're legit.
Well, it's funny because, when we were having some fun about the whole Carson Wentz Mahomes thing on last week's show, and it was a pretty good show. You made a good point with Mahomes not being 100%, why you could understand why they would take the chance with their backup quarterback. Because while I bitched, moaned, and complained how I want to see a top flight offense like the Bengals in the playoffs, you also have to take into account that the Broncos are a top flight defense. And,
yes,
for some people who are completely subscribed to the notion that the Chiefs just laid down because they didn't want the Bengals in the playoffs, there might be some truth to that, because the Bengals have had a great deal of success against them. But I think more so, it was about giving guys a much needed week off. And I think it was also about your most important player, being Mahomes, getting as healthy as he possibly could, because
agreed.
you would literally have to take his helmet away to think that guy. That's why I laugh when people are like, oh, he's not tough. I'm like, listen, it's a different game, and the game might not be as violent, but Patrick Mahomes is tough. And, the Denver Broncos are tough. And this is one of those wild card teams that I said could beat the Chiefs if they cross paths. But having said all that, I like the shout. I would not be surprised if the Broncos do indeed win this game. But I've got the Buffalo Bills surviving a scare here, and it is going to be a close one. Give me the Bills 24. Give me the Broncos 23. Tyler Bass with some redemption with a late field goal for the dub.
Yeah, and Richie, just to add one more thing about this game, about what you touched on with the Chiefs. I added in last show that if I'm Kansas City, I don't want to play the Broncos in the playoffs.
Right.
They
I just think it's the kind of thing where you got to pick your poison.
Yeah, well, the Broncos should have beat them in Kansas City. They had a field goal blocked in the last seconds.
Valid point, Shed. That is a very valid point.
And then Denver steamrolled them, but obviously that was against their second and third teamers. But still, man, it's tough. But to your point, that the smartest thing for them was to rest Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones and the lot of them. So,
they took the long road last year to win a Super Bowl. This year they had the best record, and were it not for the Bills defeating them, earlier in the year, there's a distinct possibility that they might have started everybody to go for the undefeated record to top what the New England Patriots did in 07, because now you're talking NFL history. Mm-hmm. They still could have achieved NFL history by being only the second team to win 16 regular season games, but it doesn't have that same luster when you still have the one blemish.
Agreed.
You know, with the 17 weeks, and, you know, it's been a big topic with the whole rushing debate, and I'm going to definitely hit on that when we get on the Eagles. But the former Buffalo Bill, O.J. Simpson, whatever you want to say about him as a human being, one thing I will say is when it comes to what we know him for before the Naked Gun was football. And, you know, the former Heisman winner turned pro was phenomenal as a Buffalo Bill. He was more than respectable as a San Francisco 49er, but the point to be made is when you consider the more violent league, the shorter season, because people are trying to be like, oh, Saquon, if he would have played, would have had one more game. I'm like, yeah, cool story, but he also had like 30-something less carries. And then OJ could be like, if he was still alive, could be like, listen, guys, with all due respect, I played a shorter year and did that, and I did it in the snow against the Jets. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to break it down. And I think the fairest way to break that shit down is to just be like, hey, you were the dude in your era, because we can debate until we turn blue in the face, but it's not always a fair comparison. All right, moving it along. This is a game that I am invested in for two reasons. Number one, while I respect what they are doing on the field, I absolutely hate the Philadelphia Eagles. And my late father was one of the world's biggest Packer fans. So when the G-men are not in business, and they haven't been in business for a minute, I do tend to support the Packers in the NFC, as long as it doesn't hurt the Giants, which clearly it wouldn't. This would actually make some Giant fans rejoice. Green Bay at 11-6, traveling into Philadelphia. Concern of mine down the stretch with these Packers was their health and just some of the mental errors I've been seeing. You know, like I was kind of taken back that they lost at Lambeau to the Bears. You know, they have played admirable against the better teams in the conference, but they don't have a lot of dubs against the better teams in the conference. They lose a close one in Brazil week 1 to these Eagles. Swept by the Vikings, swept by the Lions. Played admirable in all these games, you know, coming back from behind, things of that nature. But, you know, I said it with Stroud. I'll say it with Love. Maybe a little different because I think in Love's case, it has more to do with health. But I do think that Jordan Love has regressed a little based on what he did last year, having the Packers a couple of plays away from a title game, you know, giving your 49ers quite the scare. And I think when the rain came into Santa Clara, the 49ers just woke up.
Yeah, the Niners were a team of destiny last year. They squeaked by the Packers and then squeaked by the Lions. Unfortunately, lost in overtime to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But as far as this game goes, I don't. To your point, my concern with Green Bay is their health. Jordan Love banged up his hand against Chicago, so he's not 100% anyway, and he's still banged up in that knee, whether he wants to admit that or not. He hasn't looked like the same player.
Dude, it happened week 1 against these Eagles.
Yeah, and he came back like 2 weeks later, and the Packers played well with Malik Willis under the helm. But, you know, they lost Christian Watkins. He tore his ACL. He's out. Romeo Doubs is good. Justin Reed, Tucker Kraft, Dontavian Wicks. None of those guys are 1,000-yard receivers, but that's because Jordan Love spreads the ball around a lot.
Yes, indeed, similar to what Allen does in Buffalo.
The one caveat that Green Bay has an advantage is Josh Jacobs, because that dude runs hard and he is tough to bring down.
Yes, sir.
But that's all I got for that offense. Philadelphia's defense is really good. I expect this to be a blowout. You know, Saquon running the ball and Jalen Hurts is coming back with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert just got added to the roster from injured reserve. They just have too much. You know, I expect a lot of Saquon, honestly. I like the Eagles to win this one 31-20.
Yeah, I mean,
And
on
that's
paper,
garbage time 20. Like they'd be getting killed, and then there's just kind of like, a garbage time touchdown to throw it in there.
no, I get it. And I mean, on paper, the Eagles are the better team. I felt going back to week 1 that the Packers actually outplayed the Eagles, but the Packers let them off the hook. But what I've seen in the better part of 5-6 weeks is a Packer team that I don't necessarily think they're losing confidence or anything like that. I think they very much buy into what Coach Matt LaFleur has brought there. Moving on from 4-time league MVP and a perennial first ballot Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay has never shown any fear moving on from a big name. They did it with Sterling Sharp. Granted, Sharp was injured, but they weren't like worried about keeping him longer, so to speak, if he ever would have made a recovery. They did it with a lot of big name players over the years. They even let the great Reggie White talk to them, but they were like, hey, Reg, we love you. You came back too late. Take some money, go to Carolina. Green Bay never bends for the biggest names in this game, and they've always had a good quarterback. But the thing that worries me for the Packers is pretty much everything we've already said. What worries me for the Eagles, and the only reason why this could potentially be a close game, is the rust factor. When you don't have your starters playing together for 3 consecutive weeks, although they have still looked more than formidable with whoever they put out there, that could lead to a couple of things here and there. Jair Alexander, another guy who's nursed the injuries all year, that has hurt the Packers defense. I think Xavier McKinney is having a hell of a first year with Green Bay. And,
Yes, sir.
2 former New York Giants that were like staples of the team going head to head. That's kind of cool. But yeah, too much Saquon. Cooper DeJean having a phenomenal season. That man just doesn't give up touchdowns. He's been awesome. They really upgraded their secondary, and it's very rare that you could upgrade the secondary so well when you're only doing it through the draft, and that's exactly what the Eagles did.
Yeah, they draft extremely well, man.
Yeah, you gotta give it up.
Jalen Carter the year before.
Oof. Yeah, Jalen Carter, they had some off the field stuff that they were concerned about. They took the chance. It's worked out. I don't know if you caught it on IG or caught it anywhere, but my way too early prediction, because I always do a bracket just to say what I think, and I got the Eagles winning the Super Bowl this year, bro. And as a devout Giants fan, that kills me. But I really believe that these are the guys that are going to beat Detroit. I truly believe that. Now, I will root for Detroit. I'll root for Green Bay. I'll root for anybody against these guys. But they're damn good. Give me the Eagles 34. Give me the Packers 20. I think it's a valiant effort by Green Bay. I think the Eagles make a couple of mistakes to my factor and variable about being rusty. But I could see the Packers maybe down by 7 with about 10 minutes left, 8 minutes left. And then Saquon has that big breakaway run that just puts it to bed and, just does them in.
Yeah, I think very similarly, man.
And it's a big ask. It's a big ask to be the 7 seed 2 years in a row and beat the 2 seed 2 years in a row. That is a massive ask.
Walking into the Link on the road is a tough ask, period.
Yeah, the only team that has a victory over them at the Link is the Atlanta Falcons. And let's be real, if Saquon didn't lose momentary concentration, not only would he have caught the ball, he could have walked to the end zone. And I would have won that week in fantasy. That game cost me that first round bye, but I'm not going to complain about fantasy. I would be an a-hole if I did that. All right. We're both on the Eagles. Our only disagreement thus far has been Denver and Buffalo. Good stuff, man. This is my favorite round of the playoff shed thoroughly. I love wild card
upsets. It's just like March Madness. I mean, that's what you got to pick an upset because you're always surprised by somebody beating somebody that you were like, no way that's happening, and it always happens.
Nothing could compare to the way like March Madness does. You always get like that Cinderella, like
sure.
George Mason Patriots that one year. more recently had St. Peter's. You know, before Davidson was on the map, they were pulling out upsets. You know,
Florida Atlantic, 15 seed going all the way to the Elite Eight a few years ago. Like, come on.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to see. It truly is awesome to see. The ultimate tournament, undeniably, you know, the men's tournament in NCAA and the women's tournament was actually more ratings because of two females that are currently in the WNBA. You know, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark really captivated the nation with their rivalry. And, you know, they took that to the WNBA too. So for the first time in God knows how long, the women's tournament outranked the men, which is pretty awesome. And you think about like a guy like the late, great Kobe Bryant even, or like head coach for a million years in UConn women's, you know, Gino, guys who really contributed to women's basketball, or even like some of the great players that, you know, women's basketball that weren't at the forefront when it blew up like that, even though they were phenomenal, like the Cheryl Millers of the world, you know, those kind of athletes. So it's cool to see.
I agree. It's awesome.
We have the Washington Commanders at the 6th seed. Jaden Daniels, potential Rookie of the Year candidate on the offensive side, taking it to Tampa. The 10-7 Bucks, who just keep winning the NFC South no matter what happens. They always find a way to win this division. It's been a lot more good Baker than bad Baker. You say that often on this show. The Commanders finally got a signature win, I would say, a couple of weeks back against the Eagles. But I think their balls really dropped when they beat the Falcons. The way that they won that game, I think really showed a toughness that this team is going to be around for a while. Dan Quinn doing a hell of a job over there. I think the keys to victory are actually quite similar. I think both these defenses have leakage in their secondaries. I think Tampa's is a little more obvious, but both these guys, Mayfield and Daniels, could extend plays. You know, the running game is going to be important here. I think Tampa has the edge in the running game, their running back duo. But I think it goes without saying that Washington has the advantage not only in the front seven, but also at the quarterback position. No knock on Baker when I think about what he's doing. But Baker, and not too many people in the league, can extend plays the way that Jaden Daniels does. And he makes it look effortless when he decides to run. Tampa's been so good in this first round game, and it seems like it's like an annual thing where they're usually the 4 seed. This year they're you know, a notch up. But I like the road team here, but this is my upset. I like the Washington Commanders to advance. I think this is going to actually be a high-scoring game, potentially the highest scoring game of the week. But give me the Commanders by a tally of 34-28, and we're going to overtime.
Ooh, I like the OT call. A lot of things you said. The leaky defenses. You know, the quarterback play. I do like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running game, to your point as well, over Washington's running game. I do like the wide receiving core in Tampa better than Washington's. I mean, Washington has Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz and everybody else. And
Olamide Zaccheaus, fantasy hero.
Yeah, Zaccheaus came on just recently, though. He didn't really have much of a year up until the last few games.
Buddy, he was on the waiver wire about 3 hours before that game started. I started him over Tyreek Hill.
Wasn't a bad play, obviously.
Yeah, it took some testicular fortitude. I don't think so many people would have done that.
But yeah, with Mike Evans, I mean, and you know who's coming on really big that Baker's been looking for a lot is Jalen McMillan. I mean, he has been playing absolutely out of his freaking shell. You know, he's a rookie and he's been playing absolutely phenomenal, way above his pay grade, and he's not skipping a beat. And you know, Bucky Irving, another player that no one ever heard of until this year, has been like he's essentially taken over that starting role. I know they still technically start Rashad White, but Bucky Irving is the heartbeat of that running game. And he's not just running the ball; he catches it out of the backfield and makes people miss. I mean, he's got good vision. So where I'm going with this is experience. A lot of these guys, like Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, Tristan Wirfs, all these guys that have a lot more experience. The Commanders are a young team. The only advantage, Tampa Bay's home as well, right? I do like the high scoring game, but I do like Tampa Bay to win at home. But give me 37-34 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, this is one of those games similar to like when we were discussing the Buffalo game that neither result would surprise. This could be one of those ball games where the offense with the ball last ultimately wins.
Yep.
I hope the Commanders win because I personally think the Commanders will present a better challenge to the Lions this particular season than the Buccaneers would, although the Buccaneers did actually beat the Lions this year.
They did. That was their first loss. And I do like, I'm telling you, Baker, I think Baker surprised people last year, and I think he's even doing more so this year. He is a good quarterback. I mean, he'll never be, a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, but he's good. Like, he's good enough. Like, props to him for getting passed around the league for, a year and a half, 2 years, and then ending up in Tampa Bay and really making it his own. Good for him. The Cleveland.
No, I'm proud of him because not only did he grow as a quarterback, he grew as a person, because I will say that when Baker was still a member of Cleveland, he kind of came off at times like a bit of an entitled player, a bit of a prima donna from time to time.
Arrogant.
Yes, yep. Indeed. And you have to be arrogant to a level to play that position. But I do think that getting kicked around, like you said, he was with Sam Darnold with the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the Rams.
Yep.
Yeah, went to the Rams and kind of got the attention of some folks. And when I think about the nightmare that has been the quarterback position for my particular team, and to think that we could have had this guy for such a bargain, how do you think the people in Cleveland feel, giving Watson all that money?
Yeah, that's why I said they never should have got rid of him in Cleveland, but they wanted to move on, and I thought that was silly because he got into the playoffs for the first time in God knows how long. They were good for the first time in how long, and he never played bad, but they just wanted to go in a different direction, obviously, and it didn't pay off as usual. Cleveland's front office is just something else.
I mean, you're talking the first playoff win for that organization since Bill Belichick coached that team. Oddly enough, Belichick's win was against the Patriots. Bill Parcells he defeated.
Oh man, I just feel bad for Cleveland fans. Oh God,
they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh and put up a valiant effort against the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the anything is possible game. Yeah, dude. The playoffs are something. And you better get ready, pal, just in case. Because, it only takes one hit. And you are thrust back into the spotlight. I don't want to really interrogate you about what went wrong this week against Denver. I'm just going to say that you didn't really want to show them everything that you guys were packing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, you don't want to show them your whole playbook. I mean, and that's really what the game plan was. I couldn't say that on the show. They were coming after me though. That Denver defense, man. So they had to win to get in the playoffs. So they weren't. They played their starters. They were coming. So
yeah,
I did my best.
So disrespectful. Like they're like, you know what? We want all you guys to rest. You just get in there. I don't like it. And not to mention, they're not showing any respect for the show. I mean, what if something really happened to you? What if they hurt your larynx?
Yeah, you're right. They don't think about us.
I'm sorry. Some things just aren't right. Okay. Final game. We've got the Minnesota Vikings, the 5th seeded. Listen to this. 14 wins and you're a 5 seed? When does that ever happen? How about never?
Never. Correct.
Yeah, Vikings, 14-win team, but coming off quite the humbling in the Motor City. And you have a Los Angeles Rams team a few years removed from winning a Super Bowl with this quarterback. They don't have an Odell Beckham anymore, but they do have a Puka Nacua opposite of Cooper Kupp. And they have my man, Kyron Williams, out of the Notre Dame University. And their defense, man, you lose a legend like Aaron Donald, but I love what they are doing. You go to FSU and you get one of the solutions of Braden Fisk, a guy who is going to bring it every Sunday. I like this Rams team. I like this Vikings team too. I personally think this might be the toughest game to pick. You know, I've said it all season long about all the stuff that the Vikings have overcome, whether it is your first round draft pick at QB, getting the knee scopes, whether it is a really talented player who was tragically killed in a car accident in a vehicle he wasn't even driving, in Kyrie Jackson. You know, they get veterans like Jones, Gilmore. They improve the O-line. You bring in a Sam Darnold after, in my opinion, learning quite a bit with a winning culture in Santa Clara. I think that experience actually helped develop him as a professional. Mm-hmm. I really mean that. This is going to be a good game, dude. What are your thoughts? How do you see this going?
Well, Minnesota's a better team. And playing in LA isn't what you think it is. Just for an example, if the Niners are playing at LA, there's more Niners fans in the stands than Rams fans.
Indeed.
They don't really seem to have a very strong home crowd. I expect to see a lot of purple in there. So the home field advantage, in my opinion, is a wash. I don't really see much of an advantage.
You're 100% right. When the big markets travel, they travel well. Green Bay did it. The Cowboys did it.
And you know, Minnesota's defense is stout. They didn't show it against Detroit for whatever reason. They laid a dud, no doubt. No excuses there. But the Rams have a really good offense, as we already touched on, with Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Tyler Higbee's back from injury. Matthew Stafford has not been playing well. I mean, the Rams have the last few games, and I know they didn't really play their starters last week. But Matthew Stafford last few games has not put up any numbers. So that concerns me. And that Minnesota defense again is stout. Van Ginkel coming in, good Lord, and their back end's good with Smith back there. Dude, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think this is a hard game to pick for me. I like Minnesota to win and win like easily. Give me Minnesota 31, Rams 20.
All right, you got the road team by 11. One thing I want to hit on before I give my prediction. This is undeniably the biggest game of Sam Darnold's career for a litany of reasons, but one of the biggest ones besides personal success, which ultimately would lead to team success, is that, you know, unfortunately they didn't get the 1 seed. I don't think that tells the tale of the kind of team or the season they had. But if this dude plays really well and they go on a bit of a run, let's say they get to the title game, Minnesota is probably going to be persuaded to give him the money and dangle national champion a year ago, JJ McCarthy, out there. And, you know, it interests me because, as you know, you have suggested off air that we should trade back. You know, that's something. Zappy said it in our thread that maybe the Giants' future quarterback was in last year's draft. So there's all kinds of storylines. Let's say if he puts up a dud, maybe you start changing your train of thinking. Maybe McCarthy is your future. Maybe you let Sam Darnold get the money somewhere else, and you're willing to start Daniel Jones for the first 4 or 5 games next year and take all the time you need with McCarthy. So there's a lot riding on the immediate future, not just this particular season. But, you know, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, just so damn good all year. I think I don't know what happened last week. It just got away from them.
It did.
They
Yeah.
settled. They settled for too many. They settled for too many threes early on, and the game really got away from them. But they're not facing the same caliber of opponent. I have a ton of respect for both coaching staffs, but the difference in this game is that I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody coaching defense, maybe with the exception of Steve Spagnuolo, at the level that Brian Flores is right now. And Brian Flores is going to be a head coach in this league again, possibly as soon as next year. Aaron Jones is motivated. I like to see that. I hate the way Green Bay did him. I think it would have been really cool to see him and Jacobs in that backfield together. And I think Green Bay might miss him in that Philly game. Give me the Vikings 34. Give me the Rams 24. I think the Rams get a late one to keep it a little closer. I had actually picked the Rams earlier when somebody just asked me. And then I thought about it a little deeper, and I was like, nope, I'm taking the road team.
Minnesota's too good. I mean, yeah, you touched on it, man. I mean, the Minnesota offense. I mean, Sam Darnold's been playing well, and I didn't really say much about the Minnesota offense, but I probably should have, with T.J. Hockenson and Addison and Jalen Naylor as their third wide out, and Justin Jefferson is all-world freaking wide receiver, best in the business. You could argue Jamar Chase is there as well. But and Aaron Jones. I mean, he had a bit of the yips. He fumbled a few times this year, but I mean, and to the Rams' credit, you touched on Aaron Donald retiring. Gerard Verse, they drafted in the first round. He's been playing freaking awesome.
That's a guy that I thought for sure was going to go to Atlanta. When Atlanta took Penix, I was like mind blown.
Yeah, because Atlanta's defense desperately would have needed him.
Especially when you consider they went and got Judon. That would have been kind of sweet.
Oh, man. But, yeah, they just don't have enough. You know what I mean? The Vikings have a great offensive line as well. There's just too much, just my opinion. I mean, you never know. That's why they play the games, as Chris Berman would say. So you never know.
Yeah, Chris Berman and the late, great Tim Russert, that poor guy, man, he loved those Buffalo Bills. I don't have a dog in this fight this year. I would not be upset if the Lions win the bowl. I would not be upset if the Bills win the bowl. I have a great respect for that fan base. When my team beat them way back in Super Bowl 25, to see that team come home to the kind of heroes welcome that they got, I think it speaks volumes about what that team means to that city. Great fans, great fans. And that would be cool. I mean, even Minnesota, people always talk about Buffalo's 4 Super Bowls, maybe because they were all consecutive. But Minnesota has 4 losses in that big game as well.
Yes,
and,
they do.
Purple People Eaters, we were talking about great defenses. One of the reasons why they don't get mentioned nearly as enough as they should is because, sadly, they didn't have that Lombardi trophy like those other defenses did.
That's correct. Yep.
But, yeah, dude, this is going to be an awesome wild card weekend. I am really stoked about it. For Shed, I am Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. And I only have 2 words to say. Go Irish. I want to see something that I've never seen before, because I was too young to even vaguely remember this. I mean, I saw it, like I said, on the videos. But definitely got that special feeling around this Notre Dame program this year. And I'm really stoked, man, because I think if they don't do it now, when you have a great program and kids that are special, you only have X amount of years to make it happen. This is the year, Irish. Do not squander this opportunity.
Let's freaking go, Notre Dame.
Yes, sir. Last thing, Shed, just curious. Where does Kyle McCord go, team, and roughly what round? Because I have a high opinion of him.
So my concern with this is that people are overlooking him. I mean, he took Ohio State they had 1 loss last year, and they just, they didn't want him anymore. They got rid of him. So Syracuse picked him up, and he broke the ACC record and the Syracuse record for most passing yards in a season.
And may I say that he outshined Cam Ward, a guy who's going to go possibly first in this draft.
and he's a pocket passer, and he looks good. I mean, the Niners, the Orange didn't have a very good offensive line. I'll say that. So, and he put up some numbers, bro. If you wanted to beat Syracuse this year, you had to get to McCord. But he was that good. To answer your question, if I'm the Giants and I'm trading back, which I think they should, you start drafting around and get best player available, because McCord, according to a lot of the quote unquote experts, is going to be there around 2 or 3. That's where you draft him and grab him. I really don't think, dude. I don't know. I don't know if you ever like. So I've been paying attention a lot, obviously. Dude, he's a very well spoken gentleman. You know, my point is he's not cocky.
I think he has.
He's grounded.
He has the right kind of mindset.
Correct. There you go. That's where I was going.
Only be the guy in the Big Apple, but on just the bigger level when the pressure comes, when you start getting noticed and start winning. But I will say this: if the Giants are not all the way in on Cam or Shedeur, and I'll be honest, Shed, I don't think they should be, because if you can get your hands on a Will Johnson or an Abdul Carter, you know, he will be healthier. I'm thinking about it if I'm the Giants, because I said it on the last show. Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't been that good to be assured a starting job next year opposite of Brian Burns.
That's a stretch. I mean, he got hurt and he wasn't the same player, but at the beginning of the season, he was tearing it up. I don't think he was the same player.
Was early on. That's what gives me hope that if we're actually healthy and we draft properly, things could turn around. I mean, it's a process, no doubt about it. But no, definitely a player that I'm intrigued with in this coming draft. I know that some Giant fans have said that if we don't go with one of the top 2, Quinn Ewers might go back to college, maybe Milroe. But I'll tell you what, man, going to the Cuse and getting our solution, that would be pretty dope. Jackson Dart is intriguing for the sheer fact that we went to Duke twice and fell on our face. Maybe we go back to Ole Miss. That worked out rather well.
Yeah, it did. But yeah, I think you guys would do well by drafting McCord. I think that if he played for, you know, an LSU or a Notre Dame even, right, like he would have got more publicity and more hype. I mean, don't forget, he started 4 years at Ohio State. So it wasn't like he sucks. Like he has a resume and it's pretty good.
Yeah, but the Cuse always seems to get the short hairs. Let's go back to the NBA quickly. I know we got to go.
Oh, no,
Carmelo Anthony, in my opinion, should have been the Rookie of the Year, not LeBron James.
Yeah.
All
he
right.
had a great year in Denver, but no, LeBron had all the hype. That was all the BS.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love some Walter Payton, rest in peace. I love some Barry Sanders. But where did Jim Brown go?
Yeah. Syracuse. My man.
All right,
thanks.
That's what I'm saying, man. I feel like a lot of these Syracuse athletes get overlooked, and I get it.
Marvin Harris, Dwight Freeney, who just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Come on, boys. Come on.
Nah, man. Everybody just assumes because of the great Jim Boeheim that they're only a basketball school. Guys, Syracuse has had a pretty good football program for quite some time now. Put some respect on their name.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude,
I would for real this time.
Yeah, I would just be surprised if whoever drafts Kyle McCord, he doesn't do well there. Let me just say that.
Absolutely. And I will say this, last thing. If the Giants don't get him, there's a chance that the other guys in that same stadium might. So, Giants, if you like him, don't play around. Go get him.
I think he could do well, honestly.
I wish him well. I have all the respect for him. I've watched a lot of his film. I've seen some of his games. The kid has the right demeanor to succeed in the big city, and that is the kind of athlete that thrives in the Big Apple. But until next time, he's Shed. I am Richie. Enjoy tonight's game. We are out.